I'ma go there, got no fear, now I'm scared, nah. Revelation, I wanna know who I am. Watching what I'm watching, hearing what I'm hearing, doing what I'm doing, consuming what I'm consuming.
Welcome to the Spoken Truth. I'm your girl, Brandy. Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Spoken Truth Talk Show Live. Listen, I am here today with my girl, Cherry Jackson. She is a co-author of this book, Blessed Not Broken. And listen, I could not sit this book down. She's talking about blended families. She was so real and raw. I had to get ready. I was clutching my pearls, okay? But listen, this book is going to bring about some deliverance in many, many people's lives because all the ladies on this book that co-authored brought it. And the visionary author, Tamara Mitchel-Davis, I mean, boy, didn't she have a vision? Cherry, what's going on, girl?
Hello. Thank you, Brandy, for having me on your show. I just want to tell you, just a little bit about myself. Born here in St. Louis, Missouri, raised in Pensacola, Florida. Left Pensacola, ended up coming back to St. Louis because I took a job with TWA as a flight attendant. So I've traveled extensively, domestically and internationally, which has truly been a blessing. I am married. I am a mother of one. I am a bonus mom of 5. An evangelist, and my latest and greatest is a co-author of Blessed Not Broken.
Listen, that was a lot within itself. In this book, tell us about the vision of this book. How did it come about? And your portion, your segment in this one is tests and trials of a blended family. And so tell us a little bit more before I go into these questions.
So how the book came about, I had always wanted to write a book, and I just kind of spoke it into existence. I had been doing a little clips on blended families and making kind of like my own personal videos, nothing big at all, just kind of making some videos with. And in my heart of hearts, I kept saying, I've got to write a book about this because it's so much. You don't hear many people talk about the topic, but it is very prevalent. I mean, relevant and prevalent today in our society, but there wasn't a lot of talk going on with this. So on Facebook, Facebook is a powerful tool, which could be used for positive or negative, whichever way you want to use it for. Linked up with someone by the name of Tamara Mitchel-Davis, who is the visionary here, and she was doing a project, and she called it it was a collaboration project is what she called it. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of followed her from a distance, and I'm like, what is she talking about? And she goes, oh, I want to get 10 women and everybody's going to write their story. And I'm just like, sounds good, but I'm not sure. Long story short, I just kept watching her and following her, and boom, here we are. The book is now here. Like I said before, I was skeptical because she's in Connecticut. However, there's 9 other women. We all linked up. We're all from different states, and we just made it happen. Everybody has a beautiful story in there. I tell you what, that book is a must. It's a must, because if my story don't bless you, I can guarantee you the next story will. And I can tell you each story, you'll find yourself in one of those stories. You have to.
Listen, I don't even have a blended family. I went through it all with, just being an in-law, and some of the things that I went through. You were so transparent that it helped me. You know what I mean? I felt everything that you was feeling when I was turning the pages, Tamara. So guys, this is so powerful. Now, you spoke about being a blended family, and you spoke about how you became an instant mom just like that. Okay. You didn't have any children. You married your husband with 5 children, guys. Okay.
Yes.
And when you listen, 5 children, but when you married him, you went through some things with the kids' parents, even the children. I mean, this was all new to you, and you didn't even have a child at that time. And you stated in the book, okay, you said, I remember buying the children's clothes, and one mother sent them all back in trash bags. Why? I remember going to go pick up the children and no one would answer the door. Clearly they was inside. You also mentioned, until then, blocking is amazing. I should have let my husband handle most of the issues, but when I felt they was trying to manipulate him and trying to take advantage, I had to step in. So there are so many occurrences in this book. But tell us a little bit about those two stories, Cherry. And like you said, you probably should have let him handle most of the issues, but you felt like there was some manipulations and some intimidations going on. So tell me a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So let's start with the getting the clothes back in trash bags. So we thought we were doing a great, thing by buying all the children outfits. And we're not talking like one or two, we're talking like 7 or 8 outfits a piece for the children. And so we thought, well, hey, this is a great idea. Let's get this, and this will take some burden off of her. And, so we had great intentions behind it. But once we gave them to her and they came back the next following week in trash bags, it was just kind of like a slap in your face at that point. So I'm thinking, okay, we're in a long haul here. This is going to be a long ride. So I knew then that there was going to be some problems. Didn't know, how to kind of deal with that at that point. But, we eventually got through it. Not to mention that there were 3 other mothers. So there were 5 children, but there was 3 other mothers that I had to deal with. So that's 3 additional personalities that you have to deal with and, try to manage a blended family with, which makes it really, really hard. So,
Wow.
and I did not have any children. So there was little comments made about me not having any children and how was I going to be able to take care of someone else's children when I didn't have children myself. So there was just little nuggets that were being thrown at me, and it was kind of hard. It was a little difficult at first, and I didn't really know how to handle some of the comments that were being said or made. And then I think the third thing you mentioned was just allowing my husband to manage everything. So I was trying to let him handle everything in the beginning. And it's not that he couldn't handle it. It's just we handle things different. So I just wanted to make sure, I like to do everything like the legal way. I'm not going to go over anybody's house and snatch any kids. If let's get it all in order. Let's go to court. Let's not go back and forth with you're going to pick up someone. They're not going to answer the door. Let's just get all this in writing. So that's the journey that I took with him. I'm like, okay, we've got to take each mother to court, which was very costly. But we did. So those are some of the challenges. I think after we got things in place, I probably could have let him handle things a little bit more. But when I felt like someone was trying to manipulate or take advantage of, I felt like I had to step in. Hindsight 2020, I probably would say, you know what, you handle that, you deal with it, and leave it alone. But at that particular time, I didn't. I had to step in and probably cause myself more headaches than I
more headaches. Exactly. So
Absolutely.
You had the children, there was little things that was happening with the kids at that time. And do you believe that the kids was manipulated by the adults, or do you believe the kids can be manipulative as well?
Both. I think there definitely was some manipulations going on with the parents to the children, and I also we saw manipulations through the kids. Long story short, I know we've talked about some of the court issues that I've had, and from fighting to get the kids to taking one of the mothers to court for defamation of character, for going to court for them trying to put a child abuse case on me, which I don't even spank kids. That's not my mode of operation at all. Needless to say, all those court cases and everything was thrown out. But when you hear people tell a particular story in court and it wasn't the truth or that didn't happen, you saw the manipulation going on behind the scene, because you can tell what they were saying came from an adult and it didn't come from them. And the judges all saw right through that. So a lot of the cases matter of fact, all of the cases were thrown out, but some of the judge really hit one of the mothers really hard and told her that if she continued, that he would hold her in contempt of court, and she would be walking in there with an orange jumpsuit on. Yeah, it got really crazy because, as a judge, they see cases every day. So they can kind of read through and see what's happening. They can kind of see when a kid has been coached to say something or something actually happened. So in our cases, the Lord was with us. We did nothing wrong. So, but it was tough. It was many sleepless nights, I can tell you that.
Wow. So
but we got through it.
You had instances where you had to go to court, like you just mentioned, but there was an altercation inside of a church. This right here kind of just like Whoa, wait a minute. Tell them a little bit about what happened and how do you think you could have handled that situation differently?
So, long story short, we were in church, and there's normally three methods that I use when we're in church, just trying to get the kids on track and to be quiet while the service is going forward. So there's one in particular child that we have, which has a very strong personality, very strong-willed, and sometimes can be just disobedient, if you will. So had to pull her out the church. We went in the lobby, which there was really no one in the lobby at the time. So I had a conversation and basically saying, I don't know what's going on with you, but we need to talk after church and we'll deal with this after church. So I grabbed her by her shirt and said, now go in there and sit down. So when I grabbed her, tell her to go and sit down, she swung and kind of like grazed me across my face. And I'm like, whoa. So, even though we're in the in the church scene, church setting, I had to put her to the ground. I mean, I did not fight her like I was fighting someone on the street, but I had to contain her, and I had to
because she was fighting like this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had to put her to the ground and let her realize, no, this is not going to happen. This is not the way it's going to go down. But anyway, with that happening, the mother put like a restraining order on me. She had me served on my job twice in 1 week, which is totally unnecessary and uncalled for, especially when you're making up a story. So yeah, it got really crazy. I don't know. You said, what would I do different in that situation? I probably would have, her dad was not in the sanctuary at the time, but I probably would have called him and said, you need to deal with her, versus me going out and try to deal with her. Because, when kids hear that you don't have to respect this person, or this person is not allowed to hear different things from different households, it makes it hard, and it's harder for them to respect you. Yeah, as a stepmom. So all of that kind of stuff was going on behind the scenes, and it just got really ugly. That took a lot out of me. I mean, literally, it took a lot out of me. Before it was all over, we had a prosecuting attorney trying to give me a case and was telling me to plead guilty. And I said, plead guilty for what? And he said, well, this is considered child abuse. I said, I'm sorry, I was the one that was walked on. So what are you talking about? But so I had to go, you go through that, and then you have to go before the judge, which is weeks later. But while you're waiting, you're just like, you're
That's
frustrated,
scary.
you're irritated, you're mad, like you're so upset. And especially knowing it didn't happen the way that someone said that it happened. So, but needless to say, like I said, everything was thrown out. The judges saw right through everything, and God just worked it all out. So
during
this
time, you still had to see the kids that they came over around this time, right? How was that for you? Because I mean, let's just keep it real. I mean, I'm pretty sure at this point, I don't even want to see the kids. I don't want to deal with it. What was going on at that time? Because you still had to see the child that was the parents were taking you to court. Then all the other children. What was going on, Cherry?
Yeah, that was rough. So, I didn't see her for a while because there was a allegedly child abuse case that was pending until we went to court. So she was not coming, but it made it stressful when the other kids were coming, like her sisters and then her brother from another mother. But it was all stressful because they're coming over and they're seeing me in a different light. They're seeing me from what they have heard in another household, not understanding the full story. So it was stressful. I was very quiet. I became very distant. I kind of withdrew myself from my husband, from the kids. I just kind of like checked out. I didn't want to be bothered, and I didn't. And I got to the point where we wanted a divorce. We wanted to go to the divorce court. I'm like, I can't handle any more of this. I'm done with it. I'm sick of it. And we went to the divorce court, sat in the chair, and we both just sat there. I believe one of us filled out the paperwork that day and the other one did not. I can't remember. I can't remember. But yeah, it got bad. It got really bad. But yeah, that was a very trying time. And you talk about love and forgiveness. Man, if you don't have that, oh my gosh. it's going to make a hard way. And even with loving and forgiveness, it still was a process. That was not an overnight thing where I just woke up the next morning and say, oh, I forgive and I love. No, it took time. It took time.
Now, you stated even in the book that you had a dream that you was actually, the dream you was praying for one of the kids' mother. And this is the same mother that there was a lot of, attention between you and you two. So tell us, did that come to pass?
Absolutely. So this is the same mother that I took to court for defamation of character. And I won a lawsuit with that. Yes, this was the same mother. The dream that the Lord had showed me was that I was praying for her on the phone, and showed me in my office. I was praying for her, and the tears was just rolling down her face. All I saw was tears and just rolling in the dream. And I woke up and I just kind of laughed, and I'm thinking, this is really funny. We don't even talk to each other. We don't really like each other. So this is not going to happen. And I'm like, I know, Lord, you normally deal with me in dreams and you show me things, but this one is not going to happen.
Another level, right?
But, about 6 months down the road, she called me at work, and I think I ignored the call the first time. And I'm thinking, I got to call her back. And I called her back, and it was a different tone. She was probably having a good day. I probably was having an okay day. And normally I don't like to talk to them while I'm at work because it just kind of ruins my whole day. So I usually wait till the end of the day and I kind of return the calls at that point. But this particular time, it was kind of like almost an urgency on me to give her a call back. And I'm like, okay. So called her back. We started talking, and I can't even remember what we were talking about at this point, but I know at the end of the conversation, I asked her if I could pray with her before we got off the phone. And she said yes. Well, she hesitated first, but then she said yes. And then I went in and I started praying. And man, I tell you, all I heard was sniffles. I heard sniffles and sniffles. And, at the end of the prayer, she thanked me. And that was a good day.
Listen, that story within itself, the Bible says in Romans 12:18, as much that lieth in you, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. That had to be a moment where, see, you have to still pray for your enemies. I don't think people get that. Okay, it's easy for you to love your family, your next door neighbor, you know what I'm saying? But not only love them, but you need to love your enemies. Okay,
Absolutely.
even Jesus, Judas was betraying him, and he still, with a kiss, he called him friend.
Yes.
And told him, and whatever you do, do it quickly. Okay, so those are some things that you even have to say to your enemies. Whatever you do, go ahead and do it. But in the process, I'm still going to love you. Okay,
absolutely.
And a lot of people miss out on that part, Terry, because you had to pray for an enemy. Y'all went to court for defamation of character. You won that case, so evidently there was some truth to that. And you still had to pray for them. Oh boy. That's a testimony within itself. Okay?
Absolutely.
Because it's a lot of people that ain't
hard
peaceful.
thing.
See, that's hard because there's a lot of people that ain't peaceful at all. But you still have to love them and you have to forgive them. And so, Cherry, with that, you went through it all because you had to deal with it with 3 kids' mothers. So you had to handle things in a way where, and then, don't let you be an evangelist like you are a minister of the gospel, because as soon as you act out of character, I thought you would say, I thought you was a man and woman of God. That's the first thing they're going to say. Well, what was you when you was putting fire on my name, when you was talking about me? Where were you? Were you a child of God or you was a heathen? So you had to go through this. Tell us this, because the kids still was coming over. Now you and your husband, it almost drove you out to divorce court. So division came in. How did you and your husband heal?
Basically, it was a lot of prayer, and it was a lot of forgiveness. My husband is the type of person that he just loves unconditional, and he forgives really quick. I, on the other hand, I can hold some grudges, and I did hold some grudges. And if I just had to be honest with myself, I was angry with him as well. Even though the situation wasn't it was everything that was surrounding him, because he kept saying, like, what did I do? What did I do? And I'm like, you did absolutely nothing, but it was the entire situation and the people that were around you that has caused me to be angry, that has caused me to be bitter, that has caused me to be mad, that had, it caused all those different negative emotions in me. And I had to really get myself together, because as a Christian woman, you cannot stay in unforgiveness.
Talk about it.
But for a
Come
season. I mean, if you're a real Christian, you can't stay in unforgiveness, and you have to forgive, and you have to really mean it from the heart. I mean, it can't just be something you mouth, oh, I'm sorry. It has to be sincere. So there was a lot of praying, there was a lot of crying, there was a lot of books that was read during that time. I really remember this one book that really helped me. It's called The Bait of Satan, by John Bevere.
Come on.
And
yes.
You heard about it?
Yes, I have read it.
So I had to read that a couple of times, and it finally started to sink in. And I know you had mentioned earlier about praying. I had to pray for those individuals who were trying to come against me, who was trying to sow discord in the family, who was trying to, scandalize our name. And you have to pray for those individuals. Now, my prayer didn't start like, pray for them, bless them. My prayer started with, I can't stand them, Lord. I don't like them. How you want me to pray for them for, I don't like them. So, but then you start that way, but then gradually your prayer does change, and you start saying, bless them, don't curse them. And you have to have the love of the Lord. If you don't have the love of the Lord, you're going absolutely nowhere fast. So, but me and my husband, like I said, we also had counseling. I want to put that in there too. We had to go to counseling to get some healing. We had prayer, and prayer is great. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes you need to talk out that situation with a third party. That's somebody you can trust. Sometimes it's people that you may not even know, but you need that listening ear, and you need wise counseling. So we had a couple of people that we had to reach out to, and I mean, more than one time. We had to reach out to them quite a bit of times and say, hey, we're struggling here. We need some help. And it's okay.
Why do you think God allowed you to go through this? And what did you learn from it? What did you learn from it? I mean, it's a lot.
It's a lot. I've learned a lot. Why do I think God allowed me to go through it? Because I know God probably needed to break some things in me. For one, I needed to learn how to forgive quickly. I needed to learn how to love unconditional. It's easy to love when everything is going great and everything is perfect. And you can love that individual, but when somebody's backstabbing you, when somebody's talking about you, when someone's misusing you, how do you love then? So the love kind of, grows thin when you're being hit in all directions, and you're like, I can't quite love them. But man, I tell you, and I keep mentioning my husband because he was a force behind it. He kept saying, you have got to get your heart together. You've got to learn to forgive and let it go. And man, I wrestled with that thing. I struggled with that thing, man. It took me, it wasn't overnight. I'm not going to sit here and act like it was, it was years that I had to go through. Gradually, each year, I think I got a little bit better and a little bit better. But you got to get that thing down in your heart, and you have to get it right, because at the end of the day, we want to be right. We want to make it to heaven and get to the kingdom. And I can tell you now, unforgiveness won't get you there. So
come on.
If anybody is holding any type of unforgiveness, you might as well let it go. It only destroys yourself. It destroys your peace. The other person has moved on, they're gone on, and you're still holding on to a thing, honey. Let it go.
Come on, because you know what Hebrews 12:14 tells us, that live peaceably with all men, and holiness without which no one will see the Lord. So you can't sit up here and think that you are holier than thou, but you have unforgiveness in your heart with your brethren. It don't work like that. Holiness without which no man will see the Lord. So you need both. You need holiness and righteousness, but you also have to live peaceably. You can't be walking around with an unforgiving heart. You got to let them go. Because let me tell you something, forgiveness is not for them, it's for you.
Absolutely.
And so, Cherry, hindsight is 2020. What could you have done differently with all of this? You had court cases. You know what I'm saying? You had to bite your tongue. Sometimes you had to just say it. Sometimes you did say it and should not have. You know, there was discord within your marriage. I mean, there was so much going on. Hindsight is 2020. What could you have done differently?
I think what I would have done different, I would probably have prayed a lot more in the beginning of the relationship. We were, of course, new 15 years ago. We were not where we are today. So prayer would have been vital in my life. And not just getting angry over little small things. You know, it was almost like, okay, you've done that, now I'm going to do this. You've done that, now I'm going to do that. You know, cut all the pettiness out. I didn't start anything, but man, I wasn't going to let you finish and get over and get, you know,
come on.
Just working on me. I would probably have let my husband handle a lot more than I let him, you know, just let him take over, let him handle it. Let him be, you know, how he's going to handle it and be okay with that. But I felt like at points I had to step in and jump in and say, no, we need to do this, we need to do that. And I'm not saying just shut up, be silent and don't say anything, but I'm saying, you know, let him handle the bulk of it. These are his ex-wife and his two other, I call them their other kids' mothers. We won't say baby mamas because that term, but,
right.
But I think I would have been just a little bit probably more hands off than I was, because I think I caused myself more problems than I probably should have taken on. And I would have just kind of backed up a little bit and just been, and a lot of times we going into relationship, you have to let the other person, I don't know, vent, get whatever they need to get out off their chest. I probably would have listened to them more, not on everything, but because you're dealing with jealous spirits at some point, you deal with so many different emotions. But I think I would just really like to stress praying. And I know that sounds so cliche-ish, just pray about it. But no, that is a real thing. That's
a
so
real thing.
Serious.
Come on.
It's so serious to bring prayer into everything that you do, because a lot of times when you're in prayer and you're in the right mindset, a lot of things won't bother you or faze you. I mean, you'd be like, oh, okay. And you move on, you carry on. But if you're not in the right place spiritually and somebody comes and attack you, it's war. And I mean, that's when the more headaches come. That's when, and you know, and I like to say this too, because I know a lot of women, we fall into, we kind of hold on to things a little bit more than men, generally speaking. But unforgiveness causes a lot of things in your body. And people say they might not believe it, but it's true. You know, you deal with your headaches, you deal with tension, you deal with, I mean, it causes so many other things to happen in your body. So it's best to just forgive and move on. So forgiveness. If you hear nothing else from me tonight, you need to understand love and forgiveness. Those are the two hardest things that we deal with, whether you are a Christian or non-Christian. We deal with that on all levels. Love and forgiveness. You have to have it.
That's right. That's right. So you had a miracle, because before your husband, you was married previously, and you guys tried to have a child. But the blessed part about it is you married your husband and you was able to have a child. Tell us a little bit about that and what went on.
Yeah, so in my first marriage, we were trying to have a child, and we actually went through artificial insemination. I want to say artificial insemination, in vitro is what they call it, and it's a very expensive procedure, and it's not the most comfortable procedure, but we did that like twice. So, and that procedure, just to give you an example, I think at that particular time it was about $10,000 a session each time that you did that. And after the second time, I can never forget talking to my aunt, which was down in Florida. She told me, she said, you know what? Whenever the Lord is ready for you to have a child, you would have one. She said, you can try to have all these other things, and if the Lord is not ready, it will not happen. And she was exactly right. So in that marriage, it was a failed marriage. So the Lord knew. He knew, and it didn't happen. Got with my husband. it boom, just like that. I mean, we didn't take anything, didn't take nothing. It was just like, oops, I think something's going on with this body. So,
Wow.
but the doctors had said, you know, even put, kind of labeled me and said, hey, it's probably going to be really hard. You're probably not going to be able to have kids, or it's going to be really hard for you to have kids. And well, I'll tell you what, with my second husband, it was almost like instant.
Wow. Now, Cherry, that's crazy, because I think about the story of Hannah in 1 Samuel 12. I'm sorry, 1 Samuel 1. And she went before the Lord, I mean, time after time, until a point where, you know, she was, you know, at the altar and she was going before the Lord. And even, you know, the priest, he was like, what's wrong with you? Are you drunk? Because she was really going before the Lord, like, listen, I don't know what's going on. I want to have a baby. They got kids over there. What's going on with me? I mean, she was in God, where she was actually going before God, and he thought something was wrong with her, but it wasn't. She wasn't drunk. She was drunk in the spirit. And so I know you was pressing like God, but at this point, God answered your prayers and you birthed a son. And it reminds me, because here's the deal. Samuel was a powerful, powerful man of God, a prophet of God. And you went through so many trials and tribulations. But what I discern is there is something mighty in your child, just like Samuel. And so tell us, you know, with you not giving up, you went to God and prayed, because there's people out there that cannot have a child, what they think. But you ended up having one after two procedures that you had, and a process that you had that was very expensive, but God did it. Speak to someone that's going through that, and you know, your son, how powerful, I mean, just an anointed kid, you know, have to be to all that you went through. Can you speak to that?
I just want to say that God has the final word. So I know what the doctor may say, I know what a nurse may say, and I get it all. You know, we respect their position. You respect their opinion to a certain degree, but at the end of the day, God has the last word. And if God has shown you something, it's going to happen. It's going to come to pass. I mean, I've dreamed about a baby, and I'm like, well, you showed me that, but I just, you know, at that time you get worried. You know, let's be honest. You're like, it's not happening. It's not happening. What's going on? What's going on? And but hold on to God's word. If he said it, it's going to happen. It's going to come to pass. It's not in our timing. It's his timing. So it's his will. So for those of you who out there that, you know, may think it's too late, it's not too late. I had my first child at 34. You know, 34, some people's like, well, that's too old. Well, that was God's timing. So his timing and our timing, it's different. And just hold on to the word of God. So if the promise has been made, it's going to come to pass. And my son has definitely been a blessing in my life. He is the most humblest, sweetest kid. He, I just consider him in the ministry of like helps, because he likes to help everybody. His teachers call me, like I said, from kindergarten on up to like last year. I get a note every year, I kid you not, from a teacher saying, your kid is amazing. He's always wanting to help the next kid. So well behaved. He's so well mannered. I'm thinking, isn't that the norm? Shouldn't, you know, every kid be like this? But apparently, apparently not. They feel like they have to write a note to tell me this, but very mild manner. I love him to death. I wanted a girl, but I think the Lord knew what I needed.
Girl, so. He knew what you needed. Okay. So Cherry, how is the relationship now with your husband and the kids and yourself?
So the relationship now, I would say it's good, not great. It's good. All the kids are pretty much adults now. And when I say adult, that means they're over 19. They don't have to come every other weekend or every other week. They're in adults. 3 of the girls are in college down at Mizzou, so they're doing good. They come home normally on the weekends or every other weekend, and they'll stop by. They'll spend the night. The oldest one, haven't talked with her in a while. She's got 3 babies, married, she's kind of doing her own thing. Was staying with us for a while, and then she had to leave, and we asked her to leave because of things that were going on there. So we haven't really had a conversation with her for a couple of months now, but we're not concerned at all. We know that prayer works, and we know that we'll be blend it with all of the family. It's just a matter of time. We've go through those spats where they won't talk to us and we'll call, reach out, they won't answer, they won't respond or anything like that. But the Lord always brings it around where they'll make the phone call, they'll reach out. It's just a matter of time. So here again, nothing different than what we have been before. We're in a good space, me and my husband. You know, we're dating, we're hanging out, we're getting on each other's nerves at this point. But we're in a good spot. And, you know, here again, everybody, they're all adults now. We love them. We do want a closer knit relationship, but at this point, it just kind of is what it is. And maybe it'll grow into that eventually. So right now, we're in a good spot. Not perfect, not great. We're just in a good spot.
So what advice can you give people out there that's rather entering into a blended family, going through the same thing you're going through now? What are some advice that you can give them?
I would tell them, you know, seek counseling first, and know what you're getting involved with. You know all the pieces to the puzzle, not just one piece of it. You need to know if you're going to be dealing with disrespectful kids, if you're going to be dealing with kids that are, and people laugh when I say this, a vegetarian, because it makes a difference. That changes your whole grocery list. So little small things, but I would suggest both parties come together and put everything out on the table. Lay it all on the table. What does child support look like? Is there a court order in place? What denominations are you? That was a huge thing in our relationship, because one person was this denomination, we were that denomination, and that there seems to be a rift. So I would just say, you know, be upfront and lay it all on the table. Talk about it. Go to counseling, and, you know, first you and your mate, and then you bring in the kids. Then you talk about the outside sources that you're going to have to deal with as well, because you're going to have to deal with the other person or the other parent. And, you know, I say to women, I would think it would be a great idea to have some type of relationship with the other person. It just makes sense. You have to. I want to be involved, and I want to know who my child is going to be with. I want to meet you. I want to talk to you. Hopefully one day we can go out and have lunch. That didn't happen really in my case, but, you know, if I was to ever, which I'm not, to go into a different family, I would want to know, you know, here again, who's over my kid? You know, where do you work? Where do you live? What are your goals? What do you, I want to know all of this, because you're going to have my precious cargo in your life. And I need to know about you. And, you know, but I would just say, put everything up front, guys. It's so important. Counseling is not a bad thing. I know sometimes we in the Black community, we don't really reach out for counseling, and we should. There's nothing wrong with it. If you need to seek it out for yourself, if you need to seek it out for the relationship, even if with the children, when you bring in the children, that brings in a whole different dynamic. And then you need to have counseling with that. Me and Hunter, we needed to have, and I said the name, I probably shouldn't have said the name, but we had to have some counseling, because there was personality clashes, and you have to know how to deal with those things, and you know how to deal with them properly. I mean, anybody can yell, scream, fuss, you know, and fight and do all that stuff, which is crazy, but you have to know how to handle each situation accordingly. And if you have not experienced this, you need to go speak with somebody who has had some experience with it to help you along your journey.
You brought up a good point, especially from a woman that's coming into it, to keep that communication piece open. And I am definitely a firm believer in communication is the key. Maybe sometimes I can over communicate, but in a relationship where you're about to blend in a family, you need to communicate. And so you're saying, make sure the kid's mother or whoever have a communication with the new person coming in, know more about them, have lunch with them. I think that is very good advice. I mean, you don't have to be BFFs.
Right.
but at
Exactly.
least know more about the person. What are their likes? What are their dislikes? Ask those questions. Do you spank your children? Do you put your kids in a corner? What do you expect from me, being that I'm the stepmom?
Absolutely.
What would you want me to do? You don't want me to touch your kids.
Mhm.
Most gonna say that anyway. But however, how do
Right.
you want me to discipline when they're at my house? You should come down with a plan.
Absolutely.
We need to be on one accord.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So true. And I can tell you 9 times out of 10, that does not happen. It just doesn't. Either because you're dealing with, you're dealing with personalities, and depending on how the relationship ended, whether it's male or female, it just does not happen. And it's really sad. We've got to change this. We got to change this thing. That's why I wrote a little bit about it in the book, and I like to speak on it, because it doesn't have to be as hard as we make it. I talked with a lot of different couples, and that, they talk about blended family, and you always hear the horror stories, but there are some good stories out there where the blend is great. My blend wasn't great, but I hope that your blend and the next person's blend, you can learn from my mistakes, my failures, and have a successful blend. I mean, it's a great thing when it works, but man, it can be the worst thing if it doesn't work.
Well, you dropped a lot of advice, and I pray you out there, you're going through that. Please go buy the book. You see that? Blessed, Not Broken. Go buy the book. Co-author Cherry Jackson, and the visionary author Tamara. Is it Tamara or Tamara?
It's Tamara.
Tamara Mitchel-Davis. I'm telling you, God just really blessed her with a vision. Go check it out, you guys. Go buy the book. I will have the link below. Please go out and buy this. This book should be called The Art of Forgiveness. Because if you do not forgive, you might as well hang it up. And she went through it, and she's speaking from experience. A lot of these ladies, there's so many stories in here that will have you tearing up, definitely laughter some, but honestly, this is a powerful book. So please go out and buy it, Cherry. Thank you for joining us. I'm so excited. We had so many internet connections. Devil, you are a liar. We had to continue to go on no matter what. Because the enemy the enemy do not want the Lord's children to forgive. He don't want the Lord's children to forgive. Right. And we need to forgive. The Bible says, how do you expect the Father to forgive you if you don't forgive your brethren? So we're talking about blended family, but it's some of you, it may not be a blended family. It can be your own family right now in your house. It can be your own family that was birthed out of the same mother and father, but you do not want to forgive them. Go call your family members. Life is too short. People dropping like flies. You don't have time to hold judgment. You don't have time to hold unforgiveness in your heart for anyone. Go pick up the phone and say, look, I don't know what I've done, and it don't even matter. It don't matter what you have done, but I'm sorry. You have to be the bigger person and have to reach out and squash it. It's not even worth it. Life is short. And until Jesus return, let me tell you something. I got to get it right with my family members and everybody else. Because, Cherry, this let me know what I'm going through is nothing. This woman went through trial and tribulation, okay? And so what I'm going through and whatever grudge you're holding, forget about it. Let it go. Cherry, thank you so much to come on this platform to speak so truthfully and real and bring so many encouragement to the body of Christ. Thank you so much, my friend. You'll be back on this show, okay? You're going to have to come back with Girlfriend Talk, and we talk a little bit more because there's so much to talk about. We could not possibly do it in this time frame. So thank you so much, Cherry. Guys, listen, go get the book. It's in the link. Cherry, thank you. Tell them how they can reach you on social media.
So I'm on Facebook under Cherry Jackson. On Instagram, it's Cherry Virgo 18, and those are the only two forms that I have right now. I'm not on Twitter and all that just yet, but I'll get there eventually.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's enough right there. Listen, go follow her, you guys. Go get the book. It's in the link below. Thank you guys for joining another segment of the Spoken Truth Talk Show. We're so excited about what God is doing. See you next week with another powerful story, of course. And listen, October and November, we are bringing some heat, okay? Get ready. October, November, we're going to talk about the left versus the right. We're going to talk about, guys, oh, that's going to be good right there, Cherry. Listen, I had to pause for the cause. We're going to talk about the state of the church. We're going to talk about some things that's going to rub some people the wrong way, but get over it, get delivered, because we're going to bring it. These are going to be some topics that people are going to be shy away from, but we're going to talk about it. So meet us in October and November. It's getting heated. Thank you guys for joining the Spoken Truth Talk Show. Love you, friends. See you later.
Mystery. I'ma keep searching.